Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a sewing vlog and I'm going to be making the Untitled Thoughts Chandler Pants. This pattern has been in my stash for a couple of years and I just haven't had a chance to make them until now. So before I get on to the video and talk through all the details and all of that kind of stuff, if you are new to my channel, make sure to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up and comment below. All of your engagement really helps my channel to grow and I really appreciate it. So with that being said, let's get straight on into it. So you might have seen on Instagram, I did actually do a poll asking what pattern I was going to make, whether it be the Chandler pants or the Sew House 7 free range slacks. I decided to go with the Chandler pants. They're a little bit more advanced because there's the faux zipper fly and things like that. So there's a little bit more to the Chandler pants. And I also have such an exciting app to show you guys. I get asked on Instagram all the time about how I create my little sewing plan templates using the technical drawings of a pattern. I'll upload a few examples on the side here so you can see what I'm talking about. And I often get people asking how do you make these, and wanting to make them themselves. Well, personally I've invested in an Apple iPad and an app called Procreate, which is how I'm able to do this, and you can also do it on Photoshop and stuff like that. But if you don't have those tools and it's quite an expensive thing to access, then you are going to absolutely love this app that I'm going to show you in this video. It's called Sewing Lab, so it is specifically designed for sewists. And if you're a hobbyist sewer and you want to visualise your make, or you want to try out patterns and fabrics and merge them together and see what it's going to look like, you're going to love this.
And I just needed to add as well that this app can be used while you're on the go, or whether it's commuting to work, in between playing with your children. You can think about sewing and plan your makes at any time of the day.
My plan is I'm going to turn the camera around, talk you through Sewing Lab and how I managed to find my way to making the Chandler pants, and then we're going to get on with the make. So as per usual with my vlogs, we are going to sew this together and I'll talk through the project, and yeah, it's going to be fun. So here is my phone and the app looks like this. It's called Sewing Lab, and I'm going to show you the magic that works with this app. It is so cool. So what happens is you go on this little sidebar here. When you've created your account, you can see I've got a premium plan, but you can get a free plan as well. It just limits the amount of uploads that you can make. So if we click on fabrics, you can see I've added one fabric already, but we can also upload others so you can see how it works. So you need to do a thumbnail of the fabric, and then it shows you here how to do it. Lay out your fabric as flat as possible and take a picture of the full piece of fabric. So that's what I've done here, and you can see it says crop. Adjust the width and length into the square of the image, and then you can add in your details. So this fabric is a rainbow gingham length, so I've got 2 meters. Can't remember what the purchase price is for now, so I'll just put 0. And the width is 150, 1.5 meters. So once you've got that, you can also add how thin it is, how thick it is. It's quite thin, this fabric, and then what purpose it's for. So I'm going to put the purpose is for dresses, and the colour is a multicolour. And you can put in loads of other information as well. You want to have the whole of the fabric if you can, because then when it comes to creating the graphic of your project, it does it really, really well. So another thing that you can do is if you go onto patterns, you can register patterns into the app. So if you go on the pattern website, you can save the technical drawing. Most patterns have the technical drawing available for you to save. So as you can see here, I've already added a few, but I'll add another one just so I can show you the process of that being done in where the trousers are. So I've cropped into that, I press save, and then put free range slacks. The category, so underpants. Oh, total length fabric needed it asks for. So It says here, for the size that I would make, I would need 2.5 meters. But if we go on pants, you can see that I've added them in there.
So one of the features is the ability to register fabric and patterns you have already on hand. But if you just register the fabric, for example, you may also be able to find a combination you want to try with patterns that are already added on the app. So it's really handy because they add lots of different patterns regularly. So keep a lookout for new pattern ideas on there.
So this is the magical part, guys, because when you click on home, you enter this particular part of the sewing lab where your technical drawings and your fabric show up together, and you can scroll through and see how cool is this, right? So I can click on the Chandler pants. So cool. And then I want to make them in this green gingham, so now we can see what the project is going to look like. How cool is that? But also you have a documentation of your fabrics, your patterns, your measuring, and then if we press this button here, you can actually save it on your local drive, or you can share it on Instagram, which is so cool. So I'm going to save it, and then also if I press share on Instagram, let's see what happens. So here you go, it shows the project, the gingham fabric and the Chandler pants all together, and we can add it as a story. So if you want to make your own graphics like I do, and I get asked about a lot, here you go, you've got it in the Sewing Lab app. You can also go on to partners, and more fabric stores are being added. So you can see lots of lovely fabrics, and you can shop directly from the app as well. So if I wanted to buy this fabric, I can see it's from Liberty. I could click on the link and it only goes and takes me to the Liberty website. So not only have you got all of your fabrics and patterns stored in one place, you can visualize what they're going to look like, and we can treat ourselves to some fabrics. So now I've shown you the app, we know we're going to make some gingham Chandler pants. Let's get making. I hope you enjoyed seeing the Sewing Lab app. Here is my gingham fabric that I showed you guys, and I can't remember off the top of my head where I bought this from, but I will leave a link to it in the description box. It was a brand at the Stitch Festival, so I can't remember what they were called, but I will leave it below. It's a gorgeous cotton gingham. I've cut out the size F1, but I'm actually going to grade it from I think it's a G1 to an F1, because I'm slightly bigger on the hips than I am on my waist. Hi my lovelies, I'm back in the studio working on the Chandler pants. I ran out of time the other day, but I'm just doing all of the pattern prep. So that just requires putting some interfacing on the pant front pieces. So you need to interface the pocket opening of both sides of your pant fronts. We also need to interface the front waistband. Once the interfacing is in place, you then have to stay stitch the pocket opening on the pants, on the front pants, and then on the actual pockets as well. So I'm just doing that, but I think the seam allowance is 1/2 inch. I'm just stay stitching sort of about a few mils just in front of that. Those pieces done, and now I need to iron the interfacing onto the front waistband. So now I can sew the darts. So I've already marked the dart on the wrong side of the fabric. I've got one of those pens actually. Oh, it's here. I've got this really cool pen, and it's one of these pens that you can draw onto your fabric, and when you use your iron over the top of it, it erases it, so it's really cool. If I can find it online, I'll link it to you guys. Sometimes I have to read a new pattern if I've not made a particular pattern company's patterns before. I'll read it a couple of times just to kind of get myself in the know before I start sewing, because I'm one of those people that like I'll just like crack on, and I go a couple of steps too far and then realise I do something wrong, so I need to just like remember to slow down. So those darts are now sewn, so I can iron the dart towards the centre front. So I'm just sewing the pocket bag to the front pieces at the pocket opening, and one thing you need to do is make sure, if you're doing the faux fly opening, is make sure that you've got your left side with your left pocket and your right side with your right pocket. Willow's awake from a nap. Hey friends, I'm back in the studio and I wanted to show you where I got to with the Chandler pants. At the moment it's still very much looking like pattern pieces and not a garment, but our pant fronts have the darts sewn in, they're all looking lovely, and then the pocket fronts. My aim today is to show you as much of the construction as possible, because I want to get better at doing, as well as vloggy kind of style, I also want to try and show you as much of the sewing process as possible so that you're gaining insight into the pattern as well. And a lot of you say you'd like more sew alongs, so I'm going to try and combine my casual approach with also trying to show you more steps. Cool, so we're at the part of the instructions where we have to understitch the seam allowance of the pants and pocket to the pocket bag. So as I mentioned, the section where that seam is like this, we need to understitch this to the pocket bag. So let's get that sewn, and then the next process is attaching the back of the pocket to the front of the pocket.
I thought it'd be quite nice in this video to do a little bit of voiceover with some of the sewing steps. So here I am sewing the pockets.
Pockets are understitched, you can see that line of stitching on the top here.
As promised, here are some more detailed sewing steps. You want to make sure you're using your left pocket back on your left pocket front, and we're going to pin and stitch across that bottom curvy edge. Repeat the process with the right pocket back and right pocket front across the curvy edge. A little tip is to mark with a fabric pen left and right so you don't get it wrong during the process. Make sure to overlock and finish that edge, and then here is a closer look at how you then fold it to match up the side and waist seam, and then you create a pocket. So I'm using my little Cricut mini press to iron my seams and everything flat, just makes it a lot easier. And then we're base stitching the side and the top. So here's a closer look at how I fold it. It kind of gets folded under, and then you match up the notches. Use an iron to press that pocket fold nice and flat. Match up your notches, pin it at the waist and on the side seam, and then baste it together. Moving on to the faux fly, you want to pin your two front pieces together at the crotch seam, and using a fabric pen, mark your seam allowance on the bottom part of the crotch, and then the faux fly using the faux fly pattern template. Once that's sewn, you can iron it nice and flat and turn it around, press it on both sides just to give it a nice clean finish. And then using your faux fly pattern template, draw on around the outer edge, and that is where you're going to do a top stitch, and this creates a faux fly effect.
So I'm just moving on to the waistband, but before I do that, let's show you a closer look of where I've got to. It was quite fun being able to film the steps for you, and here we are. So we've got our front piece done. The faux fly is now sewn on. It's looking nice. You could use a heavier stitch, a heavier thread, but I just went with the same thread that was in my machine, and that is now ready. So I'm pleased with that. The fit is looking like it's going to be good for me. And now I've moved on to the front waistband piece, and it says in the instructions to finish this with some bias tape. You could probably just finish it with your overlocker as well, but I just used this quite thin bias tape that I had in my sewing box. And the next step is saying, with right sides together, attach your front waistband facing to the top edge of your trouser front, making sure your notches line up along the edge of your waist. My next door neighbour is just doing some kind of wind blowing machine, so let me pin this and I'll be back. So that's that waist done. I had to recut the facing piece because I'd actually made it too small. I forgot that when I was cutting out the trouser pieces that I added a little bit of extra on the side just because I'd cut out a size too small. So I forgot to do that on the waistbands, the waist facing, so I had to recut it, but that's why there's a join in the middle because I didn't have enough fabric to do it in like one long piece. But yeah, so I need to understitch the seam to the waistbands, then we iron that flat like this, and then we move on to the back. So yeah, it's getting there. I'll do that under stitching, move on to the back. It's a similar process, just sewing up the crotch seam on the back pieces, and I'll meet you back here in a moment when it comes to sewing the back and the front together. The back piece is now together. I've also put in the elastic as well. I've left one side open, it says in the instructions to keep one side unfinished, and then to baste the other side of the elastic together. And now we need to move on to putting the front and back pieces together. I haven't put my camera down for this step just because my table is quite small, and I find it a little bit tricky to show bigger pieces like this. So what I'm going to do is I'll just take the two crotch seams. When I'm making trousers of any kind, I like to match that up first, pin that crotch seam together, so right sides together, front and back, on that crotch seam there. You can see here are the two leg pieces, and then I'll pin down from that crotch seam. It just makes my life a little bit easier, because if the legs are ever so slightly off for any reason, then I can amend it at the hem. It doesn't matter too much. I'd rather the crotch seam match up, you know. Any notches as well, and then pin the rest of it downward. And then we stitch all the way from one hem to the crotch and then down to the other hem. Hello, so that inside seam is sewn and finished. And now I've just sewn the side of this waistband. What you have to do is keep your front waistband facing out of the way and stitch down. This is the bit of elastic that I basted in, if you remember me mentioning, and I've stitched down from there down the side seams of the trouser on that side. So then when you get to the other side, which I'm about to sew, you need to leave that bit of elastic free and the facing out of the way again, and then we start stitching from just underneath. So here's a bit of elastic, so we're stitching from here down the side seam, leaving this exposed for now. Now that that's sewn up, having that little bit open with the elastic still free to adjust means I can go and try them on and adjust the elastic to fit.
I was a bit unsure on this step in the pattern instructions, so what I ended up doing is folding it over to the wrong side and then folding that little bit underneath and doing like a top stitch in the dip.
No neat way still, so I'm going to do that on both sides. And then we're nearly at Trouser Town. I just need to do the hems. The hem should be pretty easy. I'm going to figure out a way to do them like a rolled hem. And here we have it, you guys. Here are the finished Chandler pants. I will insert a video on the side here of them in full frame, just because it's quite difficult to film them full frame in landscape. A couple of little things that I would say, having made them, is I've definitely got them oversized. When I was checking the measurements, I don't know what's gone wrong, but I cut out a size G1, I think it was, originally, and then when I looked at my body measurements, it was actually saying that I needed to make a slightly larger size. My waist to hip ratio is like 2 sizes different, so my waist is 31 inches and then my hip is like 42 inches. So in the space of like, you know, only a few inches, I go up 2 sizes. So it's always a little bit of a struggle when it comes to fitting like pants or skirts or anything like that. And overall, yeah, I'm really happy with them. I cuffed the bottom. I actually amended the pattern. I'm 5'2", so for reference, I already took off 2 inches on the shorten and lengthening line of the pattern. So I took 2 inches off, and then my hem is a rolled hem. You roll it to the right side twice, and I did an inch and a half, so 3 inches. So altogether, I've taken it up 3, 4, 5 inches in height. Obviously that's not allowing the regular seam allowance that's in the hem, but hopefully that gives you an idea on how I managed to fit the length of them, because I think they are drafted to a 5'7" person. So yeah, I obviously am a lot shorter than that, so I needed to take off quite a bit. I'm really happy with how the waist is sitting. I would just say the pockets are slightly gaping, and I'm not sure what the fit issue is with the pockets, unless I've stretched them during the sewing process. I don't know, but I did do stay stitching and everything else, so I'm unsure as to why they gape a little bit. But if anyone has any feedback for me in terms of pockets when they don't sit flat, let me know, because that would be great. Definitely be making it again. I'll give them a solid 7, 8 out of 10. I think the fit is a little bit different for me than what I'm used to. I added my little label to the waistband here. I just think my woven labels look so nice exposed on the outside of a garment. And that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to download the Sewing Lab app that I mentioned at the start of the video, because you can see your designs and your ideas come to life just like these did. And I had so much fun being able to visualise the fabric, the pattern together, and then obviously make them with you. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, bye!